By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we have reached round number 5 of the Camel Trophy, number 7. And remember, the Camel Trophy is a gentleman's tournament, meaning no Library of Alexandria and no Mind Twist in these decks. Now in round number 5 we have Fulco, who's playing a blue and white mid-range deck, and he's playing Phantom Monster and 2 Timmy's main, so I'm already in love with this deck. And he is taking on Koen, and Koen is playing a counter burn deck. Well, it's not really, yeah, it's counter burn. It's counter burn. He's playing, actually it's burn. He's not playing any counter magic, and he is playing with Orcish Mechanics. So maybe I should just call this Mechanics, right? An Orcish Mechanics deck. How cool is that? It's playing a full playset. But before I continue with talking about the decks, because I've got lovely deck photos of both of these decks, so more about that in the deck section of the video. First, a message from our sponsor, 3for1 Trading. 3for1 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, old school Magic players. They now exclusively offer my community free, fully insured and fast worldwide shipping on all their high-end singles, full sets, and out-of-print sealed products. They upload new cards every Wednesday and have weekly sale offers and reductions waiting just for you. Use my code TIMMY to get free worldwide shipping on your first order over $500 or euros. Have fun ordering those cards, and thank you 3for1 Trading for sponsoring this video. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck text. I'm going to start with the player on the left, that is Fulco. Let's take a look at his blue-white mid-range deck. And here we see the white-blue deck of Fulco. And yeah, this really reminds me of the white-blue decks, you know, back in the day in 95 when he used to play. Most of these cards have been reprinted and revised in 4th edition. So I would kind of run into these type of decks a lot. And I kind of like that, you know, if you would play multiple colors, most people would just play a 2-color deck, and a lot of monocolored decks were being played as well. So you didn't really see all those good stuff decks that you see today. Also, you wouldn't see any power like you would see in these tournaments, which is kind of insane still. But, you know, back in 95 in the Netherlands where I lived, and at the Magic Wombat, that was the name of my local game store, you would hardly, if you would see an unlimited card, it would be really rare. People would really come over and check it out. And I mean, emotes, if you would play emote back in those days in 95 in my game store, that would have been a huge thing. People would probably have taken pictures. Of course, you didn't have your mobile, but they would just, you know, get one of those throwaway cameras to make a picture of your moat. I mean, that was a pretty big deal to have a moat back in those days. And yeah, I'm kind of liking this deck, and I'm liking this deck because it kind of shows that, you know, Fulco is playing with what he has. He probably have one moat. You like your moat, you think it's a cool card, you put it in the deck. And that's actually the way we, you know, the way we used to build decks. Hey, I've got this rare, it looks cool, I'm just going to throw it in there. You know, it wasn't as fine-tuned as it is today. And the deck is actually still quite good, right? It's just blue-white, and of course, because you're playing with white, you have access to Swords of Plowshares, Disenchants, you've got your balance if you're behind, which is quite nice. The moat in here works quite well because you've got so many flyers. I guess the 2 creatures that don't really add up with the moat are the 2 juggernauts. They really just want to attack. But of course, you can decide when you play out your moat and when you time your juggernaut. So you've got that control, right? I really like the 2 Tims. I think it's pretty cool. Are they going to be any good today? Maybe against those Orcish Mechanics. Talking about that, let's take a look at the deck of your opponent. And here we see the deck. So it's blue and red, and I've just called it Mechanics because of that beautiful playset of Orcish Mechanics, which I think is really cool. Orcish Mechanics, a 1/1 creature from Antiquities, 1 red and 2 to cast, that reads, tap, sacrifice an artifact. This creature deals 2 damage to any target. Now, did I mention already that it's a 1/1, meaning the Tim in the deck of Fulco has a job to do. It can start killing these Orcish Mechanics, but I kind of hope not, because I think Orcish Mechanics is by far the coolest aspect here of the deck, because I think if you look at the rest of the deck, it is pretty die-hard, Koen. It is pretty die-hard. I mean, we've got a lot of burn, a 12-bolt deck, as people call it, right? Because you've got Lightning Bolt full playset, Chain Lightning full playset, and you've got Psionic Blast full playset as well. So those are the 12 burn spells in your deck, and that alone is enough to win the game. And then on top of that, you've got more cards that just really hurt. You can do a turn 1 Vice. That's going to be painful. You have 2 Ankh of Mishras in here as well. And remember, because of those Orcish Mechanics, they can all be turned into little lightning bolts of 2 damage apiece, when you tap the mechanics and sack the artifact. So I really like that combination between mechanics and, for example, a Vice or an Ankh, because there might be a moment in the game where they're just not that handy or they're working against you. Then you can use your mechanics and still get value out of them. Talking about getting value out of something, we also see the Moxen in his deck. Moxen, the same story. Later in the game, mid-game, late game, you've got enough mana, you're like, top decking a Mox, what can you do with this? And then, of course, you can sack it, put it in the catapult of the Orcish Mechanics, bam, and deal 2 damage to your opponent. This deck is looking fierce. I mean, it's super cool you're playing the 4 Orcish Mechanics, but take away those 4 mechanics and you've got a deadly burn deck. And again, I love that you play the mechanics. Hopefully we get to see them in action, but don't underestimate the deck because of that. I guess that's kind of my point. This is a very strong deck. And he's also playing with 2 fireballs, by the way. And interestingly here is that fireball in combination with Orcish Mechanics and Suchi can be kind of some nice synergy. For example, he could attack with the Suchi for 4. After combat in second main, sack the Suchi to the mechanics, deal 2 damage, use the 4 mana, pump it in the fireball, win the game that way. Anyway, this is the deck of Koen. We looked at the deck of his opponent. That means we are ready for round number 5 of the Camel Trophy. Here we go. Game number 1 here is about to start of round number 5. On the left, we have Fulco playing a blue-white Flyers deck versus Koen, who's playing a red and blue burn deck. Here we see the opening hand of Fulco, Twiddle, 2 Serra Angels, Disenchant, and Lance. So decent hand, pretty slow though. And here we see the hand, look at that, a lot quicker. And a Mox Ruby, and a Soul Ring. Ooh, and a Lance. So he can actually have to turn 1 Suchi with that hand. That hand is pure gas. But of course, Fulco does have the Disenchant. It looks like he's on the play, thinking about starting with an island there. Yep, basic island. And just passing the turn. And are we going to see some fireworks here from Koen? I'm expecting him to play out the Mox here and the Soul Ring. And of course a land, so Mishra's Factory for turn. Going to tap the Factory for the Soul Ring and pass turn. Now this is going to be interesting. Is Fulco going to disenchant the Soul Ring or not? Because it would be pretty obvious to disenchant the Soul Ring here. If he does, it's going to take Koen a little bit longer to play out that Suchi that he had in his opener. Going to tap 2. Yep, there's the disenchant on the Soul Ring. It makes sense. And the thing is with the deck of Koen is he's got so many good artifacts. Yes, disenchant is a strong card against it, but it's a 1-for-1 trade at the end of the day. And it's not going to be enough to stop all the artifacts coming from Koen. So probably after sideboarding, Fulco will have more weapons against the artifacts of Koen. But let's first see how this will develop. We see an animate of the Factory, an attack here, 2 damage for Fulco, dropping to 18 and a pass. Untap, upkeep, draw. Let's see what he can do next. There's another island and just a pass. Has of course those 2 Serra Angels in hand and 2 other cards I can't identify in the land, I believe. There we see a City of Brass. So 4 lands now could deploy the Suchi. Chooses not to attack, so doesn't want to run into a counterspell. Disenchant here on the Factory. So you can see that Koen is kind of playing around a potential counterspell. Of course, we know that there are no counterspells in the deck of Fulco, but Koen, of course, doesn't know that. So passes here to turn back to Fulco. Fulco playing another island. 4 lands in total. Has a Twiddle there that he can use. Needs a second white, though, to start playing out the Serra Angels next turn. Doesn't seem to have that in hand. Let's first see what Koen can do. Another Mox Emerald. I mean, is he now going to play out the Suchi and take the risk? That's a big question. Or is he going to be conservative? Tapping everything, taking a damage, going to 19. Playing out the Suchi. And, ooh, another disenchant. So Fulco really finding those disenchants to kind of deal with the threats of Koen thus far. But remember, he's playing 4 main, but 3 already in the graveyard. And that's a control magic. That would have been really good against the Suchi. But that control magic just came 1 turn too late. Or else Fulco would have made a different choice. Of course, hoping that Koen will cast another Suchi. Tapping 4 again. Are we going to see another Suchi? We are. So this is actually good news for Fulco. Koen passing the turn. Are we going to see that disenchant and another white? Sorry, that control magic And another white for the Sarah Angels. Playing out the white. It's going to tap 4, I guess. Exactly. Control Magic taking over the Suchi. And this is difficult, you know, for the type of deck that Koen is playing. Enchantments is really hard for him to deal with. I mean, all he can do now is find some direct damage and kill his own Suchi. And that means it's a 2-for-1. So bad news here for Koen. Does have a full grip of cards. Going to tap 2. And there we see a shatter here. Exactly, it's a 2-for-1, killing his own Suchi. And I mean, this is great for Fulco, right? You're like, okay, that's fine. And there's a Vice. Not sure how many cards in hand for Fulco. 3, I believe. So it's not going to take any damage. He's on 18 still, and Koen as well. Both players on 18. And there we see the first Sarah Angel hitting the board. Remember, he's got another one still in hand. So 4/4 flyer that doesn't have to tap when she attacks. One of the strongest creatures in old school. Now let's see if Koen can do something back here. Is he going to, for example, play a double bolt here to get rid of it? Or a Psionic Blast? He is tapping 3. Are we going to see a blast here? Ooh, changing his mind though. Maybe he had a Mechanics in hand. That could be the case as well. Mechanics also 3 to cast. Gonna tap 2, yeah, 2 red, double bolt. So again, losing a lot of cards here to get rid of these creatures. Again, a 2-for-1. And of course, those bolts not pointed at the life total of Fulco. And Fulco simply playing out the second one, hoping that it will stick. Now, both players, of course, playing with a lot of answers to threats in their decks. Koen having a lot of direct damage. And Fulco, of course, having Disenchants and Swords to Plowshares. Gonna tap a single red. There's a bolt. And there's a fireball. Wow. So again, 2 cards just to get rid of a single Sarah. 1 card left in hand there for Koen. I mean, he's been able to get rid of the threats, but he has to pay a hefty price. Another Sarah Angel. Whoa. 3 Sarah Angels here. Drew into the third one. I mean, Fulco can't complain about the cards that he's been drawing thus far. All those disenchants, the control magic from the top, and now a third Sarah Angel. This has got to be really tough. There's an Orcish Mechanics hitting the board. Now, if he can find, for example, a Chain Lightning and a Mechanics, he can sack an artifact to kill the Sarah. And these are always the moments I love, by the way, when your opponent asks to read your card. I see that as a big compliment. Whenever that happens, I'm like, okay, I build a good deck because he doesn't know this card. I love it. So checking out the Orcish Mechanics. In all fairness, by the way, if somebody would play a Mechanics against me, I would definitely have another read, simply because you don't play against it often. It's always good to take an extra moment to really understand the card that you're playing against, to know the stats, for example. Because Orcish Mechanics is just a 1/1 for 3. I think it should have been a 1/2 at least, maybe even a 1/3, you know, for a casting cost of 3. But at least a 1/2. Or maybe a 2/1, because Orcs are aggressive, right? Make it a 2/1. Anyway, I'm digressing, I guess. Let's focus on the match again. We see Fulco now taking his turn. Going to draw a card from the top of the library. Has, of course, that really nice attack here of 4. It's going to tap the Sarah, which is not necessary, but okay. Attacking for 4. And Koen's dropping to 13 here. Going to tap 4. And, oh, there's a Phantom Monster. The funny thing here is that, you know, Koen already spent so many lightning bolts that maybe he's not going to find another bolt anymore. And then the Phantom Monster becomes a lot better. But usually a Phantom would be easily to kill in this matchup for Koen. 3/3 flyer. But if he doesn't have an answer to these threats, he's looking at 7 points of damage next turn. He would drop to 11. There's another City of Brass. Only 1 card left in hand. He's going to tap 2. Ooh, going to tap quite a lot. There's a Fireball, but he is taking 2 damage though from his own City of Brass, so he will drop to 11. Ooh, he's not taking the damage. Forgetting here to take the damage. Should be on 11, then he would be on 8. Yeah, this is a pretty big deal. There's another monster. Let's hope it's not going to be decisive, this missed points of damage. Another card here for Koen. If he just has a Chain Lightning or a Bolt, he can get rid of the Phantom. Time Walk. Okay, that's something at least. And I like this. Fulco is pretending to have counter magic in hand, I guess, and thinking really deeply, do I want to counter this, yes or no? I love that. It's part of the game, the bluffing. Because we've seen the list. We know there are no counter spells in his list. But of course, Koen doesn't know that. Koen drawing a card for turn. And actually, even if you have counter magic, I wouldn't have countered this time walk. You want to counter whatever card you can draw to get back in the game or to destroy one of your phantoms. So not quite sure what the holdup is here. I guess maybe the players are chatting about something else. We have that one card of Koen there in front of him. And it looks like he's going to do something with it. Going to tap 3. Is it a Psionic Blast? Oh, it's a Wheel of Fortune. That changes a lot, though, the wheel. Wow. That is really a game changer. And it's also going to show Koen that Fulco doesn't have any counter magic in hand. Perhaps has a Swords to Plowshares. Could play the Swords then on the Mechanics. That's what I would do for sure. Yeah. There we see the Swords to Plowshares, so that means that Koen is going to go back up to 11. But of course, Koen could respond by using the Mechanics. He does not. It's going to go up to 11. And there we see a Twiddle. Oh, this is a good move. I like this. Twiddle is such a cool card. I love seeing players just playing a single Twiddle. I think it's super cool. So now Koen has to take a damage. He would go to 10. And I do believe that earlier he missed 2 points of damage, so he would actually be on 8. Again, I hope it's not going to be crucial, because this seems to be a very close match. Koen drawing 7 new cards, hasn't had a land drop yet, I believe. And also, of course, 7 cards for Fulco. That does mean that advice is going to start hurting Fulco again. Fulco, of course, still pretty high up. He's on 18. And here we see the hand. Not too great. It's got, of course, yeah, that hand's got a lot of firepower. He has, of course, an Ancestral Recall there in hand. But he just needs some simple burn. Could play a land, for example, an island to cast a Recall. Volcanic Island will do. And then hopefully find a Chain Lightning or a Bolt to get rid of one of the 2 Phantoms at least. Yeah, we're probably going to see Ancestral. There's Ancestral Recall. Who's going to draw 3 new cards. 1, 2, 3. Is he going to find a Chain Lightning in here or a Lightning Bolt? Yeah, there's 1 Chain Lightning. Does have to tap the City of Brass, of course, so that will be another damage. Yeah, this is very strange. Okay, I guess he floated the mana when he tapped the Twiddle, so that's why he still has a red one, of course. Ah, so it makes sense. Then he plays out the second Vice, which is going to do a lot of damage. So look at that Fulco dropping to 12. Untap, upkeep, and draw. So he can hit him for 3, put him on 6, but he has to start emptying his hand, though. Also has, of course, the possibility to Swords to Plowshares one of his own creatures to gain some life. Does he have a Recall? Then he could get back a Disenchant. It could be an option as well, but I think I would just try to empty the hand as quickly as possible. Gonna tap 5, or we're gonna see another Sarah. Oh, we're gonna see an Air Elemental. There she is, the beauty. 4/4 flyer. One of my personal favorites. He's going to tap 2 more as well. There's a Felwar Stone. Of course, that Felwar Stone can make any color of mana because of the City of Brass on the side of Koen. Attacking Koen here, dropping to 6, passing the turn. 5 cards left in hand for Fulco. So he did a pretty good job emptying his hand there. So 6 life here for Koen. Let's see what he can do. Really in the tank, which makes sense. He knows this could be his last turn. I guess first point of business, get rid of the Air Elemental or of the Phantom Monster. What's also becoming kind of problematic here for Koen is he's playing with a full playset of Psionic Blast. But when you're on 6, the card's not that hot, right? Because it deals 2 damage to yourself when you cast it. Let's say he's got a Psionic Blast in hand now, which he probably is going to play out. You need to take care of the Air Elemental, but you'll drop to 4. I mean, it buys you a turn. You have to do it, but it's not great. It's going to tap another one. Does he also have a chain to take care of the Phantom Monster? Another mountain. Yeah, there's a bolt. Taking care here of the Phantom Monster. And that's it. So actually, Koen doing a pretty good job destroying both creatures here. 2 damage here taken by Fulco. And I believe Fulco has a Control Magic in hand. Does he have more threats? That's the big question. Finding a balance there, I believe, from the top. That's not really going to do much for him at this moment. I mean, a lot of creature threats are already in the graveyard for Fulco. So, I mean, he's going to run out at a certain point. Does have Juggernaut still. Maybe he's got a Juggernaut in hand. That would be pretty sweet. 1 hit from the Juggernaut will win him the game. It's going to tap 4. Are we going to see a Juggernaut? No, we're going to see an Icy. Icy actually quite useful too. And we're going to see a Juggernaut. Okay. Wow. So Juggernaut and Icy Manipulator. Icy Manipulator really interesting because it can tap down the City of Brasses of Koen. Slowly kill him that way. So there's still the pressure for Koen here. Fulco still on 10. So Koen again has to find answers to these threats. Does play with Shatter. So I mean, if he can just shatter the Juggernaut, at least it'll buy him some time. Could also just put in Orcish Mechanics in front, like a Chump Blocker, for example. It's better than dying. It's going to tap 3. Are we going to see another Psionic Blast? Nope, we're going to see the Mechanics. So can chump with the Mechanics. But remember, now that I'm thinking about it, Fulco can of course tap the Mechanics, and also Fulco has a Control Magic. Ooh, he's going to tap. That's City of Brass in there, so he's going to take another point of damage. There's a Suchi. Oh, and this Suchi is going to be great to steal. Fulco, I think, can win it here. If he steals the Suchi, taps down the Mechanics, he can win game 1. Let's see what's going to happen. It's going to tap the Felwer Stone. Okay, he's actually going to kill the Mechanics. So that's a life for Koen. Going to go up to 4. You get the same result. And he's going to steal the Suchi. And then he's going to swing in for 5 with the Juggernaut. And winning it here. Game number 1. And I'm happy that those 2 points of forgotten damage were decisive here. Because for a moment I was like, ooh, this game is so close. And Koen kept staying alive and getting back with the wheel. I'm like, oh, maybe it's going to be decisive. Luckily, it's not. Beautiful win with the Juggernaut, by the way. I love a Juggernaut. Again, reminds me, back in the olden days, we saw a lot of Juggernauts. Very, very cool to win with a Juggernaut. But remember, this is just game 1. Now both players are going to dive into their sideboards, and we will catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2 here is about to begin. Fulco winning the first game, meaning we have Koen on the play. And he already took a mulligan, so starting with a card less. And Fulco kept his hand, so he's got 7 in hand. And there we see the opening by Koen. Volcanic Island and a Mox Pearl. And a pass. Let's see what Fulco can do. Playing underpowered, I believe, with his deck, so no Moxen. Playing a Plains, passing the turn. There we see an end step bolt. Super aggressive. Perhaps it indicates that Koen has a Wheel of Fortune in hand and just want to empty his hand as quickly as possible. There's another Volcanic Island. Are we going to see a Vice here, for example, tapping 3? So I guess not. Oh, there's a wheel. Yep, that explains it. He was very aggressive with playing out that Lightning Bolt. And then 7 new cards. Look at that hand, though, of Fulco. 2 disenchants into the bin. That's very unfortunate for him. Because Disenchant's, of course, such a good card against the deck of Koen. Koen drawing 7 new cards in Fulco as well. I guess the silver lining for Fulco here is that Koen didn't find a Black Vice. He is finding another Mox here, Mox Sapphire. And passing the turn back here to Fulco. Fulco finding an island there. One of the cards in hand that we can see is a Swords to Plowshares. And passing the turn here. So, of course, Fulco going a lot slower than Koen for the simple reason that he's not playing with power. And I believe Koen is playing with all the Moxen in his deck. And those Moxen, of course, work together quite well with the playset of Orcish Mechanics. We haven't seen the Orcish Mechanics really in action, right? I want to see the Mechanics using his ability. And here we do see a strip mine on the island. Ooh, there's a Timmy in hand. That's pretty sweet. There's the hand of Koen. Lots of burn, I believe. Some chain lightnings there. Lightning bolt. Gonna tap 2 volcanics. Chain lightning, chain lightning. Wow, 6 points of damage for Fulco. Yeah, this is gonna be problematic for him. If he doesn't get something on the board quickly. Playing out an island. Passes the turn though. Not doing anything. Koen still on 20. There we see a Mishra's Factory. So 5 mana for him. And of course with that factory he can put some pressure on. But just passes turn though. And that's actually good news for Fulco that he doesn't do much more than just playing out that Mishra's Factory. There's a Plains. Does have a Tim in hand, so could play out the Protocol Sorcerer. Decides not to, passes the turn, and on end step, look at this Psionic Blast again on the life total of Fulco. And there's a Lightning Bolt dropping to 4. Wow, so he's on 4 now. So incredibly low. Just 2 attacks with the Mishra's Factory and he can win the game. The second game here. There's an animate, there's the attack. There's a Swords to Plowshares though. Okay, so that's something. Then Koen gaining 2 is going to go up to 22. And just a pass. Okay, so at least some life left. Looks like he still wants to do something. There's a Psionic Blast. This is already the end of game number 2. Koen winning it here very, very quickly. And this is kind of the type of games that I envisioned when I looked at the deck of Koen. I'm like, okay, these games could be very burn heavy and very quick. You know, that's exactly what we saw here in game number 2. So very, very scary deck, I think, all these burn decks. They're very scary, those 12 bolt decks. Anyway, Koen winning here convincingly with burn, but it's only game number 2. It's 1-1. That means we're going to an all-deciding game number 3. Game number 3. Here we go. So it's 1-1. So who's going to win this round 5 match? Here's the hand of Fulco. He's on the play. Seeing a disenchant, that's handy. A balance there, a flyer, control magic, but no blue sources though. And this hand of Koen, look at that. That is pure gas. Lands, a Mox there, Ankh of Mishra and a Vice. Of course, Fulco on the play. Passing the turn with just playing a single Plains and a pass. Now the question is Koen going to play out the Vice or the Ankh? Can do both because of the Mox Ruby in hand. Going to start with basic Island into Ruby. Tapping both, so I guess we're going to see the Ankh. There's an Ankh of Mishra. Let me know in the comments below, what would you have done with this hand? Would you have gone for Vice or for Ankh? Here we see the Ankh already doing some work. Of course, Fulco here playing out his second land. Is he going to fire off the disenchant? Decides not to, which I think is a good decision. Because I think by now you kind of know that Koen is not playing with any counter magic. So you can just keep the disenchant in hand. Make the decision after you have more information. And Koen starting here with a Mox Sapphire. Gonna tap the Sapphire. There's the Vice. And he's passing the turn on end step here. We see the disenchant on the Ankh of Mishra. So he's got 5 in hand, taking a damage here from that Vice. Drop to 17, draw for turn. Okay, finding a land, that's pretty important. Still has that balance. Balance looking pretty bad here. Going to play out the Island. Doesn't seem to have any other options. A lot of cards with high casting cost in their hand. I believe I see a Moat, Icy Manipulator, Air Elemental, Serra Angel. All cards that have a casting cost higher than 3. There's a Mountain by Koen. Are we going to see a Suchi? No Suchi. Passes the turn. A damage here again for the Fulco. Dropping to 16. Finding a Twiddle. That is not what you want to see at this moment. 6 cards in hand. It's just passing the turn. Great news for Koen. Bad news for Fulco. There we see a Mox Pearl. So 5 mana available for Koen. Unable to do anything with it though. Passes the turn. 2 damage now for Fulco. Finally finding another land so he can, I believe, play out that icy that he has in hand, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to tap 4. Going to play out the icy manipulator. So now he's back to 5 in hand, I believe. Passes the turn back to Koen. And Koen just passes. And I guess 4 cards. Yeah, 5 cards in hand, right? 1 single damage for Fulco, dropping to 13. Ooh, another land. Yeah, this is great for Fulco. Now he can start playing out those bigger flyers. Air Elemental in hand, I believe. Serra Angel in hand. He's got the mana to cast both. He's going to tap 5. Starting with the Air Elemental. 4/4 flying creature. And there's a red Elemental Blast, though, taking care of business. And then passing the turn back here to Koen. Koen playing out a Mishra's Factory. Passes the turn back. No damage for Fulco. And now Fulco can deploy that Serra Angel. I believe that's a Swords to Plowshares in hand there as well. It's going to tap 4. Does that mean he's got a better option? Maybe a Juggernaut or a Phantom Monster? Ooh, there's a moat that's going to protect him from the Mishra's Factory. Passes the turn. So moat, you know, kind of okay in this matchup. I think I would have considered boarding it out because Koen wants to win mainly with direct damage. Then again, moat does stop the Suchis and the Mishra's Factories. So it does stop part of the plan of Koen. And Koen just passing turn. So it's looking pretty good for Fulco all of a sudden there. I have to admit, at a certain point I thought, oh, Fulco's really in trouble with that slow opening hand. Not finding any lands, that Vice getting active, but now it's looking a lot better for him. And I guess Fulco doesn't have another Serra Angel in hand. I thought he had a Serra in hand, but I guess I was mistaken, or else he would have played it out already. We see, I think, a Swords there. Balance in hand. Control Magic. Yeah, no Serra Angel there, I think. And that means that he's going to start taking damage again. It's going to drop to 12 now. 5 cards in hand after to draw 6 cards in hand, finding another land though. And it kind of makes you wonder that if you didn't have, I'm just thinking maybe it would have been better to not play out the moat, and at least you could have used some of your removal on the factory, but then that card would still be in hand. Anyway, it doesn't matter much. And I guess Fulco is doing this on end step or not. Okay, there we see a bolt. Gonna drop to 9. Let's see what Koen can do. I mean, Koen is in a pretty good position, right? I mean, he's got life. There are no threats here. There we see the Time Walk. It's gonna take an extra turn. Basically cycling away the Time Walk, maybe finding some more burn. I mean, if you're Koen, you're fine with this. I mean, Fulco already on 9. A few more burn spells and you're there. It's going to tap the Mishra's Factory, another Vice. 5 cards in hand, I believe, for Fulco. So that Vice means another point of damage. It's going to tap and... yeah, it's going to use the Twiddle now to kind of empty his hand. That makes sense. Untap, upkeep. Not take any damage. 4 in hand. Draw card 5. It's a land. That's good news for him. Passes the turn back to Koen here, and I believe his hand is just full of answers like Swords to Plowshares and stuff like that. Ooh, there we see a Black Lotus. The reason I'm saying ooh is because remember, Koen is playing with 2 fireballs and it's getting close to getting 9 mana. It's going to tap 3 blue. Okay, there's a Timmy hitting the board. The 1/1 Prodigal Sorcerer, and you can tap him to deal 1 damage to any target. So that means that starting next turn, Koen is on a 20-turn clock. And I like that old school combination of Timmy sitting behind the moat. But I guess the Tim... well, I mean, probably on the life total, right? Yeah, why would you fire it off on the Tim? Of course, on the life total of Fulco. Fulco dropping to 6. Yeah, this is really dangerous. I assume Fulco boarded in some blue elemental blasts to protect himself. But of course, you have to find them. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult here for Fulco, especially if he just has to pass here with 5 in hand. That would be very disastrous for him. Passes the turn here. Uh-oh. That's bad news. You really don't want to take 2 damage, go to 4, because then you're on Psionic Blast range. Koen is putting that Black Lotus there. Why? I would get nervous. If I was Fulco, I would start getting nervous here. Why are you moving that Black Lotus? What do you want to do with this, with that 3 mana? Are we going to see a Fireball here? Has plenty of mana to kill Fulco with a Fireball. The question, of course, is, does Koen think that Fulco has a blue Elemental Blast? That is the big question. Second the Lotus. Uh-oh. We're in for action. Tapping 5. 6. 7. I hope he's smart enough to tap 8 here. Just gonna tap 7, it seems. There's a Fireball for 7. No, for 6. So that means that Fulco can Swords to Plowshare his own Tim. It's exactly what he does. So he's gonna Swords. Oh, that is funny. And then he's gonna go up to 7, take 6 points of damage, drop to 1. And I mean, you know, then maybe Koen has a Psionic Blast in hand or a Bolt or whatever, you know, he's still going to die. But at least Fulco is surviving the Fireball. He's on 1. Does Koen have another burn spell? That's the big question. I guess not. Oh, so Koen kind of forgetting here to tap for that extra point, meaning that Fulco is still very much alive. Well, very much, but he's alive. He's on a 1. Going to tap 4. There's a Juggernaut. Juggernaut cannot attack, though, because of the moat. That is unfortunate. Juggernaut would be great here for Fulco if that moat wasn't there. He could just start attacking. Then, of course, Koen could use his factory as a blocker, so it's not that big of a deal. Then again, Fulco could... Anyway, you would get a whole different game without the moat, but the moat's there. So Juggernaut cannot attack here in this scenario. And I mean, Fulco's on 1, right? What are the chances that he's still going to win this? But hey, if you're on 1, you can still win it, I guess. Untap, upkeep, draw. Not sure why he's not untapping the islands. Exactly, there we go. 4 cards in hand here for Fulco. Passes the turn. And also a pass here from Koen. So both players just kind of trying to find something from the top of their decks. There we see a Felwar Stone. That's not really going to change anything. Yeah, Fulco in the tank. You're maybe thinking about killing his own Juggernaut, but I would, if that's the thing you're thinking about, I would just wait. So passes the turn, and then we see a Shatter here on the Icy Manipulator. In response, we see... Nope, nothing in response, so the Icy is gone. And now Koen's going to draw. And I think Koen was just kind of firing off the Shatter because there was no better target. He's got 8 cards in hand now, I believe, probably after the draw. And I think if you're Koen, this is quite easy, right? You're just going to wait until you find burn and then finish the game. Maybe you want to have burn backed up by a red Elemental Blast, right? It's going to tap 3. Are we going to see a Psionic Blast? No, we're going to see a Time Twister. I was like, we're done. No, there's a Time Twister. That is fun. The Time Twister being disastrous, of course, for Fulco because of the double Vice. And there we see that Swords to Plowshares on the Juggernaut. That makes sense. He's going to go up to... up to 5, isn't it? It's power, not toughness. That's true. So it goes up to, with 5 life, goes up to 6. And then hopefully for him, he's going to find a disenchant one of the 2 vices. And then he has to hope, of course, that Koen is not going to find any burn. So probably he is dead, but he's got a small chance. Who knows? Maybe Koen's just going to draw 7 lands. It has happened. You know, not finding any burn. It has happened. And maybe Fulco will find 2 disenchants instead of 1. He can fire both off, destroy both vices. So Koen drawing 7. Let's see what the result will be. I mean, I'm just expecting Koen to easily win this, obviously, but who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. Fulco also drawing his 7 cards. So 7 cards now for both players. Now let's see. Can Koen fire off something? Oh, they're already shaking the hands. He's saying, nope, I've got nothing. No disenchants there in the hand for Fulco. And that's the reason why he's shaking the hand of Koen. You're saying, there's nothing I can do. I cannot empty my hand. I'm on 6. The 2 vices are going to kill me in my upkeep. And so that means that Koen has won it here. Round number 5. Congratulations with your victory. And that was the match for today. Please join me again next time, because then we're going to start with the quarterfinals of the Camel Trophy, and we are going to see these 2 decks in action, Robots versus Mono Green, and that promises to be a banger of a match. So if you want to make sure you don't miss this one, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, because then you will be notified whenever I put new content up on Timmy Talks. And also, if you have a moment, please like, share and comment on this video. All these things are free and YouTube loves that stuff. It really helps the channel move forward. Talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks for all the information.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises early in the morning. Put him in the longboat until he's sober, put him in the longboat until he's sober, put him in the longboat until he's sober early in the morning. Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over, pull out the plug and wet him all over early in the morning. Way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the scows to the host, my son, he'll put him in the scows to the host, my son, he'll put him in the scows to the host, my son, he'll early in the morning. Way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises early in the morning.
Icketus, ficketus, sumba, kazing.